Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. I have just rushed down to my local toy shop and paid top dollar for this. It is Warhammer Underworlds Nightvault, and it's all very, very shiny and glary in my lights. I do apologise for that. Now, this is a new core set for the Warhammer Underworlds product line. The first product, the first core set was Shadespire, which Games Workshop released last year. After that, they released 6 additional warbands. There were 2 in the original core set, and then they released six more warbands. And then they released a pack of hero cards and an extra board. So there were extra boards to choose from to play on. And then that finished wave 1 of the product releases. And this core set is the second wave. This is where if you come into the game now, you're probably going to be buying this as your gateway into the game, because it looks like Shadespire, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, this is Shadespire. This was the first core set. It looks like the original core set is going to be discontinued. They have already repackaged the boards from the core set, Shadespire core set, as an additional separate purchase, which is £20 for the 2 boards, and it looks like they are going to reissue the 2 warbands that came in that core set as separate purchases as well. So it will be a case that you will be buying this core set, and then you can purchase the bits from the original core set that aren't in this one, because obviously this is going to have new boards and new warbands. So that's where we are, and this is the start of a new second wave of products in a sort of Magic the Gathering style waves of cards in and out. And the first thing you will notice is that the cover artwork is considerably better this time. I think it may actually be the same artist, but he's just done a better job this time round. The other thing I noticed is that there's been a minor upgrade, because Shadespire was a fast-paced game of tactical arena combat, but Nightvault is the ultimate competitive miniatures game. Now, I don't know who's saying that. It's a ruddy good game, but you know, ultimate game, that's up for debate, isn't it? But why not? You know, I'm not going to show you the back of the box because it's spoilers. I haven't looked inside yet. All I've done is I removed the shrink before coming on camera. This is kind of my first look, and I should probably also mention that originally I really didn't think I was going to get Nightvault. I have Shadespire and all of the team expansions for it, all 6 expansions, and loved everything from that, and was very happy with the pool of cards and everything else. And then Games Workshop released a board pack, which was 1 board, and it was £15, although I paid sort of 12 online for it. And I didn't really like that board. It introduced lethal hexes, which I didn't really enjoy, and it was a single board, and it was very expensive, and I just didn't think it really added a lot to my enjoyment of the game. And at the same time, I also bought the Leaders expansion, which is a deck of 60 cards that had abilities kind of that keyed into different leaders, and I don't think I'm using any of the cards from that expansion at all. It felt a little bit like I bought that and I didn't need it. So I was kind of feeling like my Warhammer Underworlds product was complete. I had 8 warbands, a bunch of terrain to play over, 3 different boards to pick from, and loads and loads of cards, and it felt complete. And then I saw the Nightvault contents, and then I saw the new warbands that they're releasing with Nightvault, and I kind of just started thinking I wanted it all. Now, this time around, Nightvault contains undead, and this is the, I believe they're called the Sacrosanct Chamber or something, but they're magical stormcast, and this is a clever move on Games Workshop's part, because these are the 2 factions that are in the current starter sets for Age of Sigmar. And obviously when Shadespire came out and it had a Khorne warband and a regular Stormcast warband, and those were the 2 factions that were in the starter set for Age of Sigmar at that time. So it kind of, you know, you can buy this and it gives you an introduction to those two factions, and then you can start thinking, well, hold on a minute, there's this big box of miniatures that look like the miniatures that I got in Shadespire, and you know, it's clever to use the same teams. And it just so happens that I really like the undead, the Chain Rasp or the Night Haunts, and this is the Briar Queen, who looks amazing, and that's tempting for me. That was tempting for me from the start. That I've just recently got the Age of Sigmar Soul Wars set, and I can use all the models from this box to kind of bulk out my armies for that as well. So it's like, you know, one of the great things about Games Workshop is the fact that when you buy a product for Games Workshop, quite often it's not just that product in itself, it's an expansion for multiple other products. It's like everything you buy for Warhammer 40,000 you can use in Warhammer Kill Team, and you know, quite often they can be used in other board games, and yeah, it's great. You got to love that interconnection that Games Workshop has with its universes. And here we are, a new rulebook with a cool new logo and building instructions. We will have a quick look at those in a moment. This is going to be a quick look. I'll do a separate video, I think, looking at the miniatures when they're assembled. I may even do a separate video looking at the cards in detail. I don't know. We will see. But anyway, here are the boards. They are, and there's the miniatures. So here's the boards. That's sugar. Look at that. That's gouge. That's a gouge out of the boards, because the boards were positioned like that, and there are scrapey, spiky miniatures underneath. So, yeah, Games Workshop had recently started getting quite good with the packaging of their games. They had started putting bubble wrap or card dividers between the miniatures and the cardboard products. This, not so much. You've got the miniatures resting on top of card packs. The card packs also have been dinged a little bit, but at least the top card in the pack is just this is what's in this pack type thing. So it's not actually damaging any of the cards. But yeah, the cards underneath have been dinged a bit, and my board has been ripped as well. Now, Games Workshop do have a super awesome custom service. I am absolutely certain that after I've shot this video, I will send them an email and they will immediately dispatch me a new replacement board. They are like that. That's just what they're like. They're good people like that. So yeah, we'll sort that out. But that's a bit of a shame, because you know, they didn't need to have that damage. If they'd have just thought a little bit more carefully about how they were packaging their product. But anyway, these are the new boards. If I can open them up. I should have brought a knife, shouldn't I? Come on, open. Open, says me. There you go. As always, I am a professional. Pom. 2 boards. Not one, like in the board pack that they released. Ooh, and look, in the middle. Tokens. We'll have a look. Ooh, lots of tokens. We'll have a look at the tokens in a second. Right. So we've got 2 boards. Over there a second. We have one board which has no features on it at all. None of those tiles are blocking. None of those spaces are blocking. None of those spaces are lethal. And then on the back we've got blocking terrain there, and then we've got a lethal throne. I don't know what's so lethal about the throne. And a lethal hole in the ground. Now, lethal hexes were introduced with the last map pack, and at the time when I did my video review of that map pack, I said I wasn't that keen on the idea of lethal hexes. What it is if you step on a lethal hex, you take 1 unblockable damage. And yeah, I just didn't really like it. There were numerous reasons. I felt like you could pick like a team like Oryx, which inspire when they take damage, position them on a board where they're right next to lethal hexes, and sort of inspire everybody in one turn, and sort of maybe get an advantage that way. And it might sway the game a little bit for teams that are sort of heavy, that are tanks that can soak damage, just suddenly getting into positions where you can just move them onto spaces and inflict damage. And I said that I could see why some people would like it, but for me personally, I'm not sure I was that keen on the idea. And now, unfortunately, lethal hexes are part of the core game experience. So anybody coming to the game now, they immediately have lethal hexes, and then they may be okay with that. But for me, I was never a big fan of the lethal hexes, and I don't know whether. Well, what do you guys think? Do you like the lethal hexes? Do you like the fact that they've brought lethal hexes in as a core rule, as something that's in the core set, and anybody new to the game is going to get that? I don't know. For me, it's a personal thing. I'm not saying that lethal hexes in and of themselves are a bad thing, but for me, I didn't really like them. There we go. What do I know? Let's have a look at the other board. I've been chatting for ages and I've shown you one board. Right, we've got that board with the floaty pyramids on it. Those are blocking terrain, and there's no lethal hexes on that side. I suppose that's okay. That means there's two boards that don't have lethal hexes on at all, so you can still have the core experience without using lethal hexes. That's okay. That's not so bad. And this side, that's a very busy board. Now, I've had this complaint before with Games Workshop boards. They look beautiful. They always look beautiful. They've got lovely artwork. I suspect the artwork was done again by the same guy who did like the Betrayal at Calth, the Burning of Prospero boards, which are absolutely stunning. But I am a wee bit on the colourblind side, and I really cannot see those red hexes very clearly on the sort of greenish background. I can, if I look carefully, I can see there's one there and there's two there, but that is not very clear. And under certain lights, when the board's on the table and I'm playing and there's miniatures on the board, there's a very good chance I'm going to overlook those. Of course, you can buy the 3D terrain pack to put on the board, but I don't want to buy the 3D terrain pack because there are numerous reasons why I don't think it's a good idea. One, I don't think there should be 3D terrain on spaces you can step on, and two, it's only 3D terrain for the two boards in this pack, and I've got 5 boards from previous purchases that don't have 3D terrain, and it would look weird. But that, yeah, I think they need to do something to make that a little bit clearer. That's going to be a struggle for me. Oh, by the way, here's a board from Shadespire. This is one of the original Shadespire boards. Like I said, they have just reissued the Shadespire boards as a separate purchase. So if you don't have Shadespire and don't want to buy the whole core set, you can just buy the boards. And yeah, exactly the same boards, exactly the same size. Everything's groovy. It all lines up. We're happy ducks. I don't know why I said happy ducks. I don't know what's going on anymore. Right, so we go. 2 boards, one of which is slightly damaged. We've got the token sheets. This is all the same sort of shenanigans we've already seen from Shadespire. There's the new scatter template. There's a new rule in this game where certain spells and things like that will scatter, and what you do is you position the scatter template in an orientation of your choice over the starting point of the scatter, and then you roll a number of dice, and then you can pick the dice in any order you want and sort of follow the path out. So if I rolled 2 dice and got a hammer and a sword, I could choose to put the first scatter there and then the second scatter there, or I could choose to put the first scatter there and the second scatter there. So that's a new mechanism which has been introduced, and it looks like the objective tokens have got different artwork on, which is neat. They could have just recycled stuff, but they've not done that. That's cool. Like new art, and there's a thing. Like a golem. Cool, very attractive, very sturdy. You know, Games Workshop known for their miniatures. I'd say they were known for their miniatures and their artwork, more so than anything else. And card components are not always. I've never had any problem with any of their card components. Some people have complained about the actual cards and things in the past, but I've never seen any fault with it. But it's just not something that you don't think, oh, Games Workshop, they make good cards. But good solid tokens and things in Underworlds. I've got to get into a habit now of calling it Warhammer Underworlds. Up until now, well, I know it's always been Warhammer Underworlds, subtitle Shadespire. It's always been that way, but I've always just called it Shadespire, and now I can't call it Shadespire. I'm probably still going to call it Shadespire, and then I'm going to go, oh no, I mean Nightvault. No, I mean Warhammer Underworlds. Oh, it's going to be a faff. Here are some miniatures. Like I say, we'll have a proper look at these another time. I'll pop them out the sprues and get them all built up. They are the easy build miniatures. They should go together without glue. And typical Games Workshop, although they are single pose, and do not require glue. There is no scrimping on the detailing. They are very, very nice looking miniatures. Unit 3 of the Sacrosanct Stormcast, which basically magicians. This is a set of three mages, battle mages. They got swords and big pointy staves, which look like they do more damage by hitting someone with them than actually channeling any magical energies. And it's in the nice Stormcast blue, like the previous 2 Stormcast warbands have been. But this is the most exciting thing for me. Nighthaunts, in a nice sort of weirdy green colour. I thought it was a bone colour. Like I say, my colour recognition is shot to bits. But looking at it again, it is green. It is green. It looks more green through the viewfinder than it does in real life. But the Nighthaunts are absolutely stunning. The best thing about the Soul Wars box was all of the really cool ghosties, and these just follow the trend. They're just absolutely beautiful. Really, really creepy looking. They've all got, like, you know, different jingly jangly bits. And look at the fine detailing on that piece. Look at that. There's not many companies making twiddles like that in their plastic miniatures. That is absolutely amazing. Little rose thorns and vines for the Briar Queen. This guy, he's got his head under his arm. Classic. And I love the sense of motion in these miniatures. I love the flowing cloaks and the tatters, and look, this one's flying and it's carrying a little candle, and the candle flame is blowing backwards and that's just beautiful. I mean, that is capturing character in plastic, and no one does it like Games Workshop. Absolutely incredible. Really looking forward to putting those together, and I will show them to you assembled at a later date. Here's some dice. We got 3 black defense dice, we got the 5 white attack dice, and then the new 3 blue magic-y dice, which they're also selling separately in like a nice sparkly blue colour. That's like a greeny turquoise sort of a colour. They these are used specifically for spell casting. Each spellcaster has a level 1, 2, or 3. When you cast a spell with that wizard, you roll that many dice, and you know you're looking to match symbols, the same as with anything else. But there is a possibility of, you know, the dangers of the warp, sucking your brain out and stuff like that. And look, at the bottom of the box, got some baggies for your tokens. Thanks, G-Dubs. And obviously some promo fluff. This was just the beginning. No, it wasn't. This was the continuation of the beginning, because the beginning was Shadespire, surely. Oh, come on. Yay, look at that. There's Soul Wars. Or, well, it's not even Soul Wars. That's lots of stuff from Age of Sigmar. But just there's some of those really cool Soul Wars Nightvault characters. Amazing. Oh, and there you go. There's Stormstrike, which is a great little box set for getting started in Age of Sigmar. I've done video coverage on that if you haven't seen it and you might be interested. Please do check out my videos on Stormstrike, because, you know, they're there. This is a sample chapter of Shadespire, the Mirrored City by Josh Reynolds. There you go. Little book I'm not going to read because it's the first chapter of a book that I'm probably never going to actually finish. And then we have 3 decks of cards. This video is currently at 20 minutes. There's extra cards. This is what they did with Shadespire. They had 2 pre-built decks, one for the Thorns of the Briar Queen and one for the Stormsire's Curse Breakers. So these are the pre-gen decks that you can play straight out of the box. And then these are extra cards which you can use for deck building, because there are rules in the game for deck building. And yeah, these are the pre-built decks, so you can get started straight away. They didn't do pre-built decks for any of the expansion teams, which I'm surprised they didn't. But they had lots of different ideas online on the Underworlds website. I really should have brought a knife, shouldn't I? I should have brought a knife for this. In a minute, I'm gonna... Oh no, that's not worked either. Entertain yourselves. Put the kettle on or something. I've done it. There you go, I did it. I've got plastic in my teeth now. So this is the Stormsire's Curse Breakers. This is the Stormcast. So we've got the unit cards. We've got Amiss Dawnguard, Rastus the Charmed, and Averon's Stormsire. And we can see that his level 1 wizard, and a level 2 wizard, and also a leader. Same thing as before. They've got their this is their regular side, and then they have an inspiration ability. This fighter successfully casts a spell. So at any point if this character casts a spell, they become inspired. You flip the card over, and suddenly they're better. They've got better stuff going on. Oh, look. They got spell action. Empower. If this spell is cast, you can reroll 1 attack dice each time this fighter makes an attack action until the end of the phase. Alright, so you're basically giving up an action for a better chance of doing more things with your subsequent actions. He's got the same thing. And that's a female Stormcast again. So we've got another female Stormcast, which is nice. I thought I said Ratus then. Horrible histories. Yeah, an Averon Stormsire. There he is. He's the leader, and he's got a Fulmination spell as standard. You can just cast 3 from 3 spaces away. Ooh, bit of range. Right, so this is the pre-gen deck, and we can see. I can't remember what cards came in the Shadespire core set, because it was a long time ago. It was a year ago, and those cards have now been broken up and switched into other decks. And I do a lot of deck building now, so nothing's in its original decks anymore. So I don't, looking through these, I don't know which ones of these are kind of new and which ones are reprints. But Games Workshop did say that some of the backbone cards, some of the ones that are popular and turn up in a lot of decks, have been reproduced in this core set. For example, the set of Hold Objective 1, Hold Objective 2, Hold Objective 3, Hold Objective 4, and Hold Objective 5. They have changed the artwork, which is nice, but yeah, Supremacy is a card that was in Shadespire. Score this in end phase if you hold 3 or more objectives. My camera is going out of focus a little bit. It's going a bit wibbly wobbly. I don't know why it's doing that. Yes, so that's interesting. So some of the cards are going to be new, and some of them are not. Obviously, all the ones up here you can see. This is the Stormcast faction symbol up here. So any card with that symbol belongs specifically to the Stormcast from this core set. So those are going to be new. Devastating Blow. I'm not going to take a deep look at all of these cards. I guess as I'm flicking through them, if there's one you want to see more of, just press pause. Fighters 1. Score this immediately if a friendly fighter makes an attack action with 2 supporting friendly fighters. Yeah. Same old, same old. Harness the Storm. Measured Strike. Confusion. See, that's a reissue of an old card. So, there's going to be it looks like there's quite a few from my memory. Well, this is one of the new spells. Look, it's got this. This is the spell icon up here. This is the Wheel of Magic. Vital Surge. You can see it says Gambit spell, and then there's 2 symbols, and that's because you have to roll spell dice and get and match those symbols basically. And then if this spell is cast, choose a friendly fighter and remove up to 2 wound tokens from their fighter card. So spells, effectively, they're a new type of ploy. Ploys and spells, and they come under the term gambits. And spells are like more powerful ploys, but there's a risk they might not work when your spellcaster uses them. And the introduction of magic. The introduction of magic is one of the other reasons why I wanted to pick up this core set and have a look, is because it's new rules, it's new ideas. So I thought it was worth checking out, really. I'm not entirely convinced whether I like it or not. In theory, it's adding abilities that are more powerful, but there's more randomness involved in actually being able to make those abilities work. Some people have already sort of said that Shadespire had quite a lot of randomness in it already. I don't think there was like a horrific amount of randomness in Shadespire. There was enough that dice mitigation is one of your core things that you're doing. You're building a deck to mitigate when those dice rolls to sway the odds in your favour, basically. But I never just thought it was like a random chaos fest. But spells do add an extra thing that's, determined by dice rolling, and it's kind of like you win big or you go home. All or nothing stuff. So I don't know whether I'm going to be using spellcasting forces. I'm not a gambling man. I like to have things that I can. I didn't even like ploy cards where you have to roll the dice, and it's like if you roll the hammer or the exclamation mark, it does this, otherwise it fails. I don't tend to run those sort of cards. I tend to run cards that I know they have an effect, and they will achieve that effect when I want that effect achieved. So there we go. So that's my take on that. So guys, I sound like a right grumpy Gus. Don't like the lethal hexes. Not sure about the magic. Got a damaged board. Boo, yeah, boo. Storm Strike. Great Fortitude. Yeah, it looks like most of the universal cards are reissues. Going from memory, someone in the comments can correct me if I'm completely wrong, but it looked like most of the universal cards are reprints. It'd be interesting to know if there's any cards at all from the original core set which haven't made it into this set, because I mean, later at some point there's a possibility from the rumor mill suggests that the core set teams are going to get repackaged as expansions. If they do, are they going to have the original pre-gen decks that they had in the core set? And if so, there's going to be a lot of cards again that are duplicates from here. So I don't know how they're going to do that. That's going to be interesting to know. They better not put new cards in with them, because I don't want to have to buy warbands I've already got just to get a few new cards. That would probably be a pass for me, regardless. To be honest, I've got enough cards. Like I said, I wasn't even originally thinking of buying Nightvault, but then I went and rushed down to the shop anyway because I'm weak. I'm a feeble-minded fool, and I've just not. That didn't work. That didn't work. I should put on up an animation or something, or a technical difficulties thing. What do they wrap this? What do they wrap these in? It's like the most powerful plastic wrappers known to man. I'm actually going to have to pause the video. Sorry, folks. There's a lesson. Always have your handy dandy craft knife within reach, because otherwise you don't look very professional. Arc at me, like I'd look professional anyway. So here we go. This is the Thorn of the Briar Queen team. This is a big team. So we've got a Chain Rasp, another Chain Rasp, another Chain Rasp. How do these inspire? This fighter is adjacent to an enemy fighter at the beginning of the activation, so they're just creeping about. If they creep about, then they inspire. Interestingly, all of these characters treat lethal hexes as normal hexes. So they go to the effort of introducing lethal hexes to the game, and then give you a warband that completely ignores them. That's an odd choice. Yeah, I'm not sure why they've done that. The Ever Hanged, because he's always hanged. And there's a Chain Rasp. How many is that? It's quite a lot. Alright, and then we've got Annihilation. So all enemy fighters out of action. Denial. Hold objective 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. These all look quite familiar. That's a new Nighthaunt card. You can see it's got the Nighthaunt logo up in the corner there. So they seem to be all about getting up in the opponent's face, causing grief, giving them the willies. It's even the specific stuff. There's a lot of. I'm seeing a lot of repetition in these cards already. Score this in the end phase if your warband took an enemy leader out of action in the preceding action phase. I mean, that's something that every warband can pretty much have in their deck if they want. And I do wonder if Shadespire is getting to the point where how many more different types of cards can they come up with? How many different objectives can there possibly be? How many different ploys? I mean, the spells, that's an interesting new twist. That's going to open up some new design possibilities, but I do wonder if the pool of cards is reaching a point where there's Shadespire, or I should say Warhammer Underworlds. It's a very tightly designed game, and you know, I'm wondering if they've explored most of the angles for what cards can do. I don't know. They can prove me wrong over the next 6 warbands. Confusion, determined efforts. So these two pre-built decks, there's a lot of similarities between the two as well. So a lot of the stuff that's in the Nighthaunt deck is also in the Stormcast deck, which was the same as it was in the Shadespire core set. Push all friendly Chain Rasps up to 2 hexes. This push must take them closer to the nearest enemy fighter in each. Wow! If there is more than one nearest enemy fighter, you can choose. Okay, so Chain Rasps ignore lethal hexes, and they inspire by being adjacent to enemy fighters, and they have a card that allows you to push all of them up to 2 hexes. That is brutal. These guys are going to be vile to play against. Play this after a friendly fighter's attack action that fails. That fighter can make another attack action that targets the same fighter. Yeah, Endless Malice. Get stuck in. Spectral Parry. Rending Scream. Some spells. If this spell is cast, each enemy fighter adjacent to the caster suffers 1 damage. Wow. Yeah, so there's some really nasty stuff in here. The Nighthaunts, I think, are going to be quite nasty. Great fortitude again. Great speed. Great, just great. Great strength. Escape Artist. Creeping Terror. Chill touch. Just chill, man. Driven by hatred. +1 dice to their attack action when this fighter makes a charge action. Man. Strangling Coil. A spectral length of rope lashes out, wrapping around the victim's throat with the strength of a constricting serpent. Ooh. Ooh. Sadistic Strike. Curse of Unbinding. During an enemy fighter's spell or spell attack action, if the spell is cast and the caster is within 3 hexes of this fighter, roll a magic dice. On the Swirly Gig, that spell is not cast and is not resolved. So there's also, yeah, Dispel Scrolls. Interesting stuff. What's my initial take? I don't know. I don't know really. I've got my knife now. I just have to make sure I don't cut my hand off. Although in fairness, it'd take quite a long time with that knife. It's not like I'm Crocodile Dundee or anything. So these are the extra cards. These are the deck building cards. These are the ones that give you the chance to try out what you're going to do next. Seeing some similar names, some familiar names I should say, coming up as Nagash commands. Drag them down. Score this immediately if 3 or more friendly fighters made a successful attack action. Vengeful Advance. Score this in an end phase if all surviving friendly fighters are in your opponent's territory. Well, if you're going to play that push all your guys 2 spaces card, then you're halfway there. Score this in an end phase if all surviving friendly fighters, at least 3, are inspired. Yep. So it's a lot of similar stuff. A lot of stuff we've seen before. Some of the spells are doing some interesting new stuff. They tease this one online. It creates a lethal hex. So there's a nice spell in there that the Stormcast would never use against the Nighthaunts. That's something that I'm not keen on, that idea. The fact that there's a possibility that you might put this card in your deck which creates a lethal hex on the board, and then you come up against Nighthaunts and they're immune to lethal hexes, so you've got a dead card in your hand. And considering you don't have very many cards in your deck in the first place, dead cards are never good. So I'm not quite sure about that. I'm also not sure about the terminology of a gambit being a ploy or a spell, because you get the case where all ploys are gambits, but not all gambits are ploys, and that's gonna create some additional confusion with card terminology, because a card might say play this after a gambit, or it might say play it after a ploy, or it might say play it after a spell, and that's three separate things to worry about now. Sudden Appearance. Choose a friendly fighter and place them on any starting hex. Ooh, cool. Like a bit of teleportation. I'm just flicking through these very quickly. I appreciate that in the past I've gone through decks of cards in a great deal of length, but this video is already like 30 minutes long. Shackle Heist. Grasping Thorns. Nice artwork again. All new artwork. I think this is something that's worth noting with Warhammer Underworlds, is that you can't have any duplicate cards in your deck. Every card will always be a unique card, and every card has a unique piece of artwork on it, and that's a big deal for me, because one of the things that always bugs me with card games is that quite often you have a lot of the same cards which have exactly the same artwork, and Warhammer Underworld sort of bucks that trend. It bucks that tradition, because you end up with a deck of completely unique cards, each with a really nice image on there, some really lovely artwork in Shadespire, and that's cool. I'm not going to go. Oh look, there's a Learn to Play guide. Oh, I was going to say the building instructions are in the Learn Play guide. They're not. So there you go. building instructions. If you're new to Games Workshop games and you're scared of the assembly, well, not scared, put off by the assembly, I should say, don't be. It's all pretty straightforward. I'll discuss that in another video. Learn to play. They did learn to play guide in Shadespire. It's going to be pretty much the same, apart from it's got the new scattering rules in there. Little tutorial telling you about the breakdown of the cards. So there's that. And then finally the new rulebook. This is the new spangly up-to-date rulebook. It obviously introduces the new magic rules and the new terminology of gambits. It's got background fluff about the Nightvault and the Nightvault. The Nightvault living in the Nightvault. And yeah, the new teams, the Curse Breakers and the Briar Queen. And yeah, so this has been reformatted. I should imagine it's been cleaned up a little bit. Some of the terminology, I should imagine, is a lot more specific. They'll have incorporated the FAQs from online, so this is another good reason to have a second core set, because you get the current rules that have been tidied up a little bit. Right, there we go. So that's that. I don't think I've got much more to say about it at this point. Oh, there you go. There's the new rules for creating chains when you're doing scatters. So there we go. So that is that. Sorry, this has been a little bit rushed. It's been a little bit. I've breezed through it. I'm sorry if you wanted to take a closer look at the cards and you didn't get to see them, but I'll probably have another look at the cards when I discuss the miniatures, maybe. Unless people already feel like I've spent far too long looking at this stuff. But for now, I'm just going to say thank you for watching. As always, please leave comments and stuff if you have comments to leave. And remember to, give me a thumbs up if you didn't absolutely hate what I do here. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.